Did Berrios cost us that game? Well, look, I mean, I think in almost any game when a team loses, there are multiple plays you can go back to or multiple things that happen. And you could point to them and say, those are things that cost us the game. So it wasn't like it was the one play that cost us the game. It wasn't like we played this perfect game and we would have won the game no matter what, except for one guy. There's unfortunately blame to go around, but there's also celebration. I know we don't feel that right now. It sucks, but I'm going to try to like point it out. Not that we should be happy. We had every opportunity to win that game. We should have won that game. We could have won that game. And it would have been great if we won that game. I mean, we're all feeling the hurt. It hurts. Right. But aside from Berrios dropping that pass, and I mean, for the people out there that are saying it was a bad throw or trying to put it on Mike White, stop. That ball was inside his shoulders. Yeah, was it perfect? Did it go to the center of his body or right where his hand? You didn't want it ahead of him. Like if you look at the play, it wasn't like he was running across that way. It was thrown to him to fall down on it and catch it. The ball may have been 6 inches off target. That's not off target for a quarterback. The play call was good. The execution on fourth down in that situation from Mike White was good. If Berrios catches that ball, it's not a highlight reel that would have made the highlights because it would have been potentially the game-winning touchdown. But it's not you wouldn't have said, "Oh, what a great catch." No, it was thrown right to him. Literally, if he didn't use his hands, it would have been in his shoulders, the ball. It would have been to the right of his shoulder, not perfectly centered. If I'm facing this way, it's going to hit my right shoulder. So he had to put his hands here, but it was within his shoulders. It's crazy that we're even talking about it. If you watch the play, it is 100% you have to catch that ball. And it's not have to catch the ball and make a great catch. It's not a great catch. If he catches it, it was what he was supposed to do. Nobody looks at it and says, what a catch. Right? But the reality is he didn't catch it. He dropped it. He actually had both hands on it. And you know what they say. I mean, there are people say if you touch it with one hand and you're in the NFL, you make the catch. I think that's ridiculous. You don't punt, you don't blame a guy if he reaches out and makes contact with one hand because he's a great athlete or something. But when an NFL wide receiver is able to get both hands on the ball, it was not knocked by the opponent. We looked at it. The defender's arm didn't knock it loose. He just couldn't make the play. Now, look, I like Berrios. I already forgive him because that's not a mental mistake. It's not him doing something stupid. It's not something that makes me want to bench him. He's a human being. I've dropped passes right to me. We all have. And I know what you're saying, but he's an NFL player. He's supposed to catch them. I get it. But every NFL player I've ever seen has made mistakes and dropped passes. Jerry Rice once caught a pass against the Giants in the playoffs, which would have put the Niners up 7-0 in 1986, the year the Giants won the Super Bowl. And he dropped it for no reason at the 5-yard line. The Giants recovered. They ended up winning the game 49-3. Every player in history, every receiver has dropped a pass. It was really bad luck that it happened to happen at the end of that game in the end zone. Now, let's get this straight. That did not win the game if the Jets score that touchdown. If he catches that ball, it doesn't win the game. It put us in position to win the game. There was still going to be 90 seconds left and timeouts for Minnesota. The game would not have been over. How many times have we seen a team with 90 seconds? It's a lifetime to get into field goal range and kick it. Okay? It's one play. It's probably the play I would change if I could change one play. Like, of all the mistakes, if I could change one play, it would be that play. I'd go back and say, boy, I sure wish Berrios would have caught that ball and allowed our defense the opportunity to close the game for us. Here's other problems that I had. Another thing, people actually defend this, which is amazing to me because I think I'm pointing out like the obvious, but I think it has to be pointed out because people are actually arguing and saying I'm wrong. I don't know how that's possible, with this because it's so blatantly obvious. So we go down the field, and the first opportunity we have to score that we get into the red zone, we're moving the ball really well. We have the momentum, and suddenly Mike LaFleur calls one of his fancy plays where it starts by going backwards. Let's start the play and go backwards 7 yards and hope that something develops. And maybe we'll have Garrett Wilson throw the ball. What? Now, look, those kind of plays are fine with me. I think if you're losing, if you are unable to score, if you're desperate, you can't move the ball, nothing's going well, so you try a trick play. I get it. But we were walking down, like we were rolling. We were doing great. We were driving down the field. It didn't make sense. We didn't need to do a trick play, but we did. Okay. If it worked, we would have loved him, right? Mike LaFleur's a genius. Okay. Let that be. Okay. So we're mad it didn't work. Ruined the momentum. There was a penalty on fans. I think that may be the next drive, but one of the three drives that I'm going to talk about. But it kills the momentum of the drive, and we settle for 3. Then the very next drive, again, we're rolling, we're rocking and rolling, we're moving down the field. Big play, big play. Things are going great. We're in the red zone. Second time in a row, he does some weird throw the ball backwards, run around the end, 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage, loses yardage, sucks the juice right out of us. You could see it on the field after that. It was just over. Like field goal. You may as well bring him out on 2nd and 3rd down. It was over. It just sucked all of the momentum. People forget how important momentum is. When you're doing well and you're moving the ball, you got to strike. And you got to strike not with a trick play or a weird play, with what's working. Van Knight was running well. Mike White was throwing efficient little passes, and our playmakers were doing their job. Keep doing that. So now it happened 2 times in a row. 2 field goals. No touchdowns. 3rd time. Consecutively. This was the next time we got the ball. 3rd time in a row. In the red zone. Calls another weird flipping sweep reverse, I don't know, play. And for the 3rd time it fails. And for the 3rd time in a row, after those plays that he called, this is why I'm calling it out, we stopped gaining any yardage. We fell apart. We went backwards. So that's why I'm saying it's not like, oh, it's just one play, but you get the ball back on the next play. What's the excuse? No. All 3 times, it completely sucked the momentum out of us. Completely. And we settled for field goals. Awful job. Now, to Mike LaFleur's credit, he got us down the field those times. He got us in the red zone tons of times. He called a beautiful play. Like, he won the game later in a sense that he did everything he could to put us in a position to win the game, right? He got us downfield, 4th down. Oh, no. Calls a beautiful play. Berrios comes up the middle in the end zone. Mike White delivers the beautiful pass. Unless you're going to sit there and say 6 inches off the perfect pass is not a beautiful pass. I say it is. And Berrios just missed it. There's other things that happened in that game. The holding against Fant. The fact that Mitchell had to come out for Fant because he was playing so bad. But all games are like that. All games have things happening things take place in every game that are bad. Right? Even in our wins, bad plays happen. In our losses, bad plays happen. So is it Berrios' fault we lost? Not really. I mean, he was part of what went wrong. He probably the biggest, most pivotal play. But there were other things that could have happened where we wouldn't have been in that situation. Where a field goal would have won the game. Or we were up and we would just, at that point, be eating the clock. So there's other things we could have changed. There's other mistakes that were made where the Jets could have won the game. So do I look at Berrios and say, you're the only reason we lost? You're the worst. You're the worst. Everybody else is great? No. After all this misery and talking about this loss, here's the good news. The good news is these are all learnable things. All it takes is Saleh to go into LaFleur's office and say, "Look, if you want to be the offensive coordinator here, because you have talent and you have the ability to run this offense, but if you call one of these bullshit, ridiculous plays again when we're in the red zone, you're out. Like everybody else, you don't get to keep making the same mistake over and over again." Right? Mims ended up sitting for how long? A year because of him making mistakes and penalties. Like, it's got to be that he goes in there and he says, "Knock it off, knock it off, stop with the ridiculousness." And just call regular plays, especially when it's working. Okay. There are things to learn. Then push in the back or whatever that holding or the block was, it was completely useless, worthless, made no point, made no sense. We can't do anything about the fact that the refs are against us and cheated. In a sense, I think it's cheating when refs blatantly miss calls to hurt your team and are constantly calling plays against you. And they literally scored the Vikings' first touchdown for them. They literally made it happen through penalties. I've never seen anything quite like it. And then against us, look, even in the touchdown with Mike White, they tried to make it not happen. But they couldn't overcome instant replay. But they tried their best. But enough of that. I don't want to be the fan that complains about the refs because we had plenty of opportunities to win that game in spite of the referee. Plenty of chances. Tons of drop passes. Conklin, man, revenge game. Revenge for the Vikings against him for leaving. Conklin was awful. God awful. I don't care if you say every one of those catches that he dropped were hard and difficult. You're not going to make any of them? Really? Corey Davis, unacceptable. Some great plays, but also really up and down. He needs to be removed from our thoughts as number one receiver. It is Garrett Wilson is our star. Corey Davis is not even a thought. Our star is Garrett Wilson. That's our star. That's our go-to receiver on every play. He is our star until other teams and defenses show us they can stop him. There were lots of drop passes. Look, these are all fixable things. They are. Also, we went into Minnesota. They were 9-2. And we took them to the end. We could have beaten them. We all saw. Berrios holds on to that ball. We're in a good position to win. 9-2 team in their house on the road. These are our Jets who were 4-13 last year. Does it make me feel better? No, I'm not sitting there saying it's okay. We're better. That's all that matters. But it's something. If we would have lost, we were 20-3 going into the half. If they would have just crushed us, that was much worse. Much worse. We didn't give up. We fought. We put ourselves in a position to win. That means something. As painful as the loss is, it means that we are a real football team. The Jets are for real. This game sucks that we lost, but also is more evidence that we are for real. The other quarterback wasn't hurt. We're for real. 9-2 Minnesota Vikings barely got 10-2 now, barely got out of there with a win at home because they had to play the Jets. We're for real. Don't ever forget that. We're for real. If you like this channel, if you like the content, please just subscribe. Hit the bald guy is right there. Another video right there if you want to watch it. I appreciate that support. It's great. Go Jets.